all right. We're recording. We're skipping intros. We have about an hour to 15 minutes to read before we're gone for 4 days. And hopefully when we get back, we do really, really long streams. Wait, Wiz Live? No, it's all right. We'll be gone in less than 2 hours. Don't worry, it's not going to be that long. So you know who it is. You know what we're here to read. Sorry, this is super last minute. Everyone wanting me to not read. I know, I apologize. I know. You guys are probably going to get double ravings. But we're gonna be gone for 4 days. And then when we're back Tuesday, we're going to stream at the usual time, but we're gonna go a lot longer, and hopefully that weekend we're gonna hopefully, knock on wood, back to back Saturday and Sunday we clock in and we do like 8 hours. Saturday, Sunday. I'm hoping. And just quick heads up, I found out how to read manhwa on my phone and my iPad through iOS, so I am gonna catch up with Eliseed. And beginning after the end, so I'll probably just make like, oh, my thoughts so far, or like, oh, season 6 review, or my current thoughts on Eliseed. Okay, point is, we've been stalling. We're gonna keep reading. Chapter 756 is called. Wow, my mic is so far away, so I just realized it does sound not good. Now it's better. All right, chapter 756. Grandmaster. I thought it said Grandmaster. No, Grandmass. Okay, so we're in church. All right. After waiting nearly 10 minutes outside the prayer hall, Klein and the other believers who were here to join the moon mass, and wow, the battle music is playing. That's right, it's almost over. After waiting nearly 10 minutes outside the prayer hall, Klein and the other believers who were, oh my god, I can't read. What's up, Wiz? I know, I'm gonna leave in like a little over an hour. Just take some screenshots so you read LC and add them into the video as you talk. Oh, we can probably do that. Just screen record a little bit. I think we can make it work. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And the other believers who were here to join the moon mass entered under the priest's lead. In the dark and serene atmosphere, they heard uniform and ethereal chanting. Full-faced above the land stood the crimson moon. Yo, wait, hold up. Did Wiz hear me talk smack saying we were going to pass him next week? No? He didn't hear that? Okay, did he leave? Okay, I think he left. All right, never mind. We're chill. Full-faced above the land stood the crimson moon, and sweet as the dreams of themselves, of child and wife and parents, but even more. Holy and rhythmic voices echoed in the prayer hall as the believers involuntarily quieted down, as though they had forgotten all the frustrations in the life or the different challenges they face in the real world. Under the guidance of a few priests, they found their seats in front of the altar. Bishop Electra, who was in charge of celebrating the mass, held the revelation of the Evernight and began preaching. And this segment came to an end. The priest held up the water and bread and then began handling them out to Klein and the company. Yo. No, man, you're good. If you want to go longer, feel free. No, it's okay. No, you're good, Wiz. In 2 hours, I'm getting picked up. Or in an hour and a half, I'm getting picked up. Yeah. So no, I'm gonna be gone. So I only had like an hour to read. As this segment came to an end, the priest held up the water and bread and then began handling them out to Klein and company. This was the loving grace of the Evernight, food that people both alive and dead could share. Having not had dinner, Klein naturally didn't want the bread of the average quality and the water in the cup. Then he saw the candles lit up on the altar, and under the darkness, they appeared like stars in the night sky, emitting light and warmth that eased one's heart. At that moment, Bishop Electra led the few priests and everyone in the choir to chant in unison. We look upwards in the night sky. We tenderly say her name, Evernight Goddess. We know no other words except Evernight Goddess. May the goddess draw out from the angel chorus with the sense of sweet together and hold both within. Wow, I cannot read today. I'm over here like only got an hour, and I'm over here stuttering too much. And hold both within her right hand, which is gentle. Goddess, if she heard us, she would surely agree. Smiling with purity at the end, come rest and sleep well, my children. The empty voices filled with holiness drilled into every believer's ears. It felt as though all the spirits present were resonating in unison. As the sequence 5 beyond, Klein felt as though his soul body was being cleansed, as his spirituality naturally flowed out in comfort. Falling down in tranquil darkness seemed to appear before his eyes, a darkness without any sound. In the darkness, corpses lay there, their faces calm and at peace, as though they weren't dead and were actually in deep sleep. Klein calmly traversed the darkness in a staid manner when he suddenly stopped and looked diagonally ahead. At a spot where moonflowers were silently blooming, there were a few people sleeping. They were the hatless Dunsmith. What? They were the hatless Dunsmith in a trench coat, old Neil, who still wore his... Oh, I'm about to cry. Old Neil, who still wore his black classic robe, and the short Keenly, who worked hard to save up money. They closed their eyes in a relaxed manner as a faint smile appeared to show on their lips. Oh, I'm crying. Around them were erratic tombs, each of them having the same words written on them. Garden. Fuck. Oh, shit. I don't think I was going to cry this stream. Oh, shit. Guardians. Klein instantly closed his eyes, though the holy and ethereal voice resounded by his ears. Cross your hands humbly over your breasts, make the silent prayer, and shout from the bottom of your heart. They only escape in tranquility. Klein lowered his head, closed his eyes, and raised his hands up before crossing them before his chest. He then repeated the silently, the only escape is tranquility. The only escape is tranquility. This repeated again and again until the prayer had reached a state of extreme silence. Only then did Klein open his eyes again and rub the corners of his eyes. He slowly exhaled and glanced around him. With the light from the candles, he discovered that most of the believers were covered in tears without realizing it. Even his valet, Richardson, was constantly tearing up without wiping his tears. I wonder if that's from his problem, right? He said he had to leave early. The moon mass is akin to ritual, a ritual with beyond powers involved. It effectively is likely to make everyone's spirit resonate, allowing different people to see the deceased who they share deep relationships in the darkness. It relieves one grief in order to obtain tranquility. Yes, this isn't an abnormality that's targeted beyonders, so I can be at ease. To ordinary people, this might be an illusionary outlet that's instantaneous. They would only believe that's a result of the goddess's greatness and not some extraordinary power. Sequence 5 Beyonders of the Evernight Pathway seems to gain a significant enhancement or control of spirits. Klein withdrew his gaze and he made a judgment. Right on the heels of that, he recalled the darkness and deceased that laid amidst the moonflowers. I wonder if one day we get to meet them, man. I don't know, like a high sequence, like sleepless, can like manifest them. Bro, I'm crying. Dude, we have an hour free time, Cami, before we're gone for 4 days. I know. I figured might as well stream a little bit. Might as well stream for like an hour and a half. Closed his eyes, Klein allowed his thoughts to drift. The dark plain filled with moonflowers, night, vanilla, and slumber flowers in the manifestation of the goddess' divine kingdom. What does the source of danger in the nighttime inside the battle of the god ruins correspond to then? Klein gradually outlined the cold darkness and the fog that enveloped the sea of the eastern front of the Sonia Sea. In the fog, there was an ancient pitch-black cathedral with a steeple. Ravens spiraled above it as though they were holding a memorial or were in grief. And around the cathedral were ordinary residents, simply wood huts, grayish white mills, and indistinct figures. Logically speaking, this foggy scene that intricately tied to the night and dreamy should be formed from the aura left behind from the goddess's slayed annihilation demonic wolf. But it doesn't have any similarities with the corresponding divine kingdom. Yes, mortals can't pry into the secrets of deities, so perhaps the dark plains filled... What? So perhaps the dark plains filled with flowers isn't a projection of the divine kingdom, but rather an outcome of the ritual. Seeing that the moon mass was coming to an end, Klein reached into the inner pocket and took out his wallet. Holding his wallet, he got up and entered the aisle. Walking straight to the altar and under Bishop Electra's compassionate watch, he walked diagonally over to the donation box. He chapped his chest 4 times in clockwise fashion, drawing out the crimson moon before throwing it all into a large denomination notes. A total... Fuck, man. Damn. Never Easy got the EXP shadow ban? Wow, what happened? What do you mean? At that moment, Klein didn't feel the pinch like the previous few times. He was in a very calm mood because he recalled the ritual Olneo had used to repay his debt. Back then, they picked up a wallet containing 300 pounds, all thanks to the goddess's blessing. Live streams have XP on YouTube, but not you? I don't know what that means. Take a step back, he drew the crimson moon once again, and he gave his spot to the donor behind him. Wait, what does that mean? You can earn EXP for every video you post? I don't know if you guys are trolling me. It's where you get EXP in a leaderboard for chatting, donating. What? We're going to continue right here before I get lost. At that moment, Bishop Electra walked over and said as he drew the crimson moon, "May the goddess play you. May the goddess bless you. May the goddess know about it. What I wish for now is to receive some teachings." Klein replied with a smile. Bishop Electra glanced at the prayers hall's side door and said, "If you don't mind waiting 15 minutes, I can explain the Bible to you in the library. I would love that," Klein said with a warm smile. Bishop Electra immediately got a priest to lead Dwayne Dawkins and his servants out the prayer hall through a side door as they circled around a spiral staircase to a nearby library. There was a huge bookshelf here, and on it were various books from the Church of the Evernight Goddess. There were tables and chairs lining to the side for priests and bishops to study and preach to the believers. 12 minutes later, Bishop Electra entered the library with a calming smile and saw Dwayne Dantes with his white sideburns standing in front of a bookshelf, flipping through the book with a great focus. He exuded the vibes of a scholar. "What are you reading?" he asked with a smile. Klein snapped the book together and said with a self-deprecating smile, "The Revelations of the Evernight. To be frank, although I'm a pious believer of the goddess, I've never had the time to seriously sit down and read the Bible due to my busy life." As he spoke, he didn't show any odd signs of his face, but he felt uneasy deep down. He was afraid that the goddess would smite him in a bolt of lightning to reward the pious believer Dwayne Dantes. Well, lightning isn't the goddess's domain. Klein consoled himself. Bishop Electra smiled and took the Revelation of the Evernight from his hands. "It's never too late to begin." Following that, he invited Dwayne Dantes to sit down, no comment, to sit down beside a table and systematically introduce revelations of the Evernight structure and the corresponding holy ward. Richardson held his employer's hat and cane as he stood a slight distance away, silently waiting to listen to the bishop's preachings. Time ticked by when Klein, who had appeared seriously, suddenly felt his spiritual perception trigger. A scene outside the door naturally surfaced in his mind. This was an intuitive foresight that stemmed from a clown, one that had been enhanced by the gray fog. Outside the door, an older dressed in a black clergyman robe walked by and headed for the nearby spiritual staircase. He had lush white hair but didn't comb it, making him look rather disheveled. He had a thin face made it appear as though he had bones wrapped in skin. He exuded a rather cold bearing, and his skin was abnormally pale. His eyes were a rare, pure black. This figure quickly vanished from the door as the footsteps gradually sounded like they were coming from above. A keeper, but it's not the one I met at the prayer hall, huh? It's his turn today. Klein paused his attention to Bishop Electra as he wore a contemplative look over the Bible's contents. He wasn't surprised that a keeper would appear inside the cathedral and pass by the library at this time. This is because the sealing forces behind Chandler's Gate would reach its peak at night. It wasn't, oh, that makes sense. It reaches its peak at night. It wasn't suitable for living creatures to remain inside. Therefore, the keepers only entered at sunrise and left at sunset. It just had turned black. I need to remember what day and date it is today. Later, with more information, I'll be able to figure out the keeper's rotation schedule. This way, I'll be able to act as the corresponding target at the right time. Klein reined in his thoughts as he listened attentively. Finally, he got up and bade farewell 30 minutes later. He smiled and said, Bishop Electra, I'm wondering if I have the honor to listen to your preachings in the future. No problem. Faced with the tycoon who had just donated 300 pounds, Bishop Electra couldn't reject him. Yo, what's up, guys? He even happily nodded. As long as you come to the cathedral and I have the time. Klein didn't harp on the details to prevent any suspicions. He earnestly thanked him and left St. Samuel Cathedral with Richardson. He returned home before 8 and enjoyed dinner as he leisurely spent the rest of his night. Late at night, inside the master bedroom, the sleeping Klein suddenly opened his eyes. His spiritual intuition told him that someone has infiltrated his mansion. We have a spy? Chapter 757 is called Dream Encounter. Someone had infiltrated the compound. Klein didn't immediately sit up. All he did was turn his body to the side and reach his left palm under his pillow. He secretly had held death knell, and at the same time, he slowly spread his left hand open, prepared to activate Creeping Hunger. After knowing that it was difficult to find food for Creeping Hunger in Backland, he had infiltrated the prisons in Desi-based Conant City, found an immediate on death row, and confirmed that there wasn't any mistake in the judgment for feeding him to the glove. The rose school of thought has locked onto me. No, it's impossible for that. It has to be Leonard. No, it's impossible for them to be that quick. Besides, if it's them, they wouldn't just come, but would wait for an opportunity. This would seize the opportunity when I'm passing by a secluded spot and strike so as to not alarm Backland's official organizations. I donated too much money at the moon mass, causing criminals to target me, huh? A generous tycoon who just had came to Backland from a foreign land is indeed an easy target. Of course, I can rule out the routine investigations of Nighthawks. As a flash through his mind, Klein heard a soft noise coming from the balcony in the adjoining half-open room. Right on the heels of that, there was a sound of a lock turning as the floor-to-ceiling window was pulled open nearly silently. Klein carefully listened and sensed the footsteps pass through the half-open room and into the corridor. After a pause, the footsteps walked towards the master bedroom before pausing, turning the doorknob to his valet's rooms. He went into the wrong room. Of course, it be that he's here to find Richardson. Klein's heart stirred as he released his grip on death knell. He then reached out of the iron cigar case, which wasn't too far. After he moved the wall of spirituality, an illusory figure in a dark red coat and old triangular hat appeared beside him, and then walked into the full-body mirror. Yeah, I like it, dude, Milosh. So far, I've only cleared the hunts once. I haven't been able to grind it as much. I'll probably do it today as much as I can as I'm waiting, you know? When Sonara I'll just play from my phone. I'll just use like Steam Play. When Sonara the Wraith Marionette jumped to the glass window in Richardson's room, he saw a figure with orange-yellow skin, raven black hair. It's really good, by the way. I love Title Update 2. I'm having a blast. He saw a figure with orange skin, raven black hair, and soft facial features walk out of the room. As for Richardson, he was silently sitting by the edge of his bed, his body leaning forward. His back was hunched up like he was fused into the darkness. Horror colored his face as he showed a weak and stumped expression. Finally, he fell silent. The person is indeed here for Richardson. His traits resemble that of someone from the southern continent. He's agile and skilled. He's likely not an ordinary person. This is a friend of Richardson got to know at the manor in the southern continent, or could it be a material relative? Richardson is only a valet with an annual salary of 35 pounds. What manor would need his help? Klein guessed as he used Center's vision to observe. At that moment, he suddenly realized why Richardson was good at observation and often stayed on the balcony to size up his best friends. He was afraid of being found. I hope it's not too big of a problem and won't affect my plans. I'll later divine the matter. If Richardson is unable to resolve the problem, I'll have to find an excuse to terminate his services. Seeing his valet lie back down, Klein pulled back his Rafe marionette. By the way, my novel reached 100k views on Webnovel. What? Username? Frios? Bro, link it, dude. Link that shit. Yeah, link it. Oh my god. No way, bro. Congrats, dude. That's badass, dude. Meanwhile, Leonardo Mitchell, that's so sick, dude. Freaking congrats, username. That is so badass. It's so awesome. I'll not real much such demonic scripture. No, okay. Oh, no, you gotta let us alone a bit. Meanwhile, Leonardo Mitchell, who lived up at 7 Pine Street, once again entered the Vogue, immersed Backland. He had previously questioned the Daily Observer reports Mike Joseph received the news that Sherlock Moriarty didn't proactively involve himself in Lenovis's matter. Instead, he participated in discussion after being hired. This made any suspicions regarding him drop drastically, if it wasn't because this detective had been silently involved in Captain's matters and how he had a close relationship with Emmeline White from the Harvest Church. Leonardo Mitchell would have had thoughts of giving up the investigation to continue his search for Int Zungwil. As Sherlock Moriarty didn't have many friends at the Quelling Club, with one of them dying in a matter involved in Prince Essex while the other with reporter Mike Joseph. Therefore, Leonard only had the one target left, Dr. Aaron Cerise. Dr. Aaron, I'm forgetting who Dr. Aaron is. From the Doisers, this doctor was once involved in Beyonder Matters of the Monster Pathway. Got it. After the item swapped, he stopped being unlucky or having nightmares. His life returned back on track. Most of that Sherlock Moriarty know. Oh my god, I'm reading wrong. Most people that Sherlock Moriarty know are involved in Beyonder Matters. This detective sure isn't an ordinary someone. As Leonard thought, he rang the doorbell in Aaron Cerie's dreams. Upon entering the dream, he casually found a sofa to sit down, and Dr. Aaron, who was opposite him, tell me in detail how you got to know Sherlock Moriarty. In the dream, Aaron didn't lie. He stated from how Miss Mary had introduced Sherlock Moriarty into the Quelling Club and how he was one of the recommenders. He continued until the detective suggested that he inform the Church of the Evernight Goddess Bishop about his abnormal matters. The truth is described in the dossier. Sherlock Moriarty seems rather friendly towards official Beyonder organizations, and he was endorsed in Isaac Arnstead. And Leonard glanced at the mustache Sherlock, which it's crazy how he can't piece it together. Leonard glanced at the mustache Sherlock, which Dr. Aaron conjured and retracted his gaze as he listened attentively. After Aaron finished recounting everything in detail, he said he headed to the south for vacation and he hasn't returned. I've been worried about him all this while. However, he's a detective filled with wisdom and a kind heart. I believe nothing bad will happen to him. I just wish that he can participate in the celebration of my child's birth. He'll be present. Perhaps Leonard suspected that Sherlock Moriarty might never return to Backland. He then politely bade farewell and walked out of Dr. Aaron's dream. After taking a few steps forward, he subconsciously looked back and saw that inside the house was a garden with blurry spherical lights that represented different dreams filled the entire place. Everything was fine. Was it a mistake on my part? I keep feeling as though something about me is changing. Leonardo muttered as he turned to fly to Pinster Street. Everywhere he could see was covered in a dense fog. The street lamps were gloomy and pale. Suddenly, Leonard stopped flying as he cast his gaze at the building. In that house, there were 5 spherical lights floating in silence, making it look different from the other buildings. However, Leonard's spiritual perception told him that there was apparently a black blob in the house which could absorb all light. Furthermore, he discovered that he didn't recognize the street he was at. He felt alarmed, suspecting if he had seen something he shouldn't see. He hurriedly retracted his gaze as he prepared to leave, and head for his residence. At that moment, the building that looked ordinary sounded with a teasing voice. Why don't you come in for a cup of tea? Thoughts? I'm sorry, is that Klein? He's trying to speak to him? Why did you come in for a cup of tea? Thoughts erupted in Leonard's mind as he flew up at high speeds without even thinking. In his spiritual perception, the terrace house lining the back of the garden, the tiny buildings were burgeoning in size as the windows and doors turned in mouths that were biting at him. The nearby black street lamps were extending in height, making the surroundings appear like a forest of steel that would seem to stop Leonard. Leonard didn't stop or turn back. He felt a chill run down his back as it became more obvious and deeper. His body slowly stiffened as though he was being grabbed by the countless invisible hands. Love this chapter? Just as he felt that he couldn't hold out any longer, he saw a familiar house with a familiar window and light stood. He held his breath, plunged down abruptly, and fell back to his dream. He jolted awake and found himself drenched in cold sweat. Old man, what did I actually encounter? Leonard retracted his legs and from the desk's edge and asked with a sense of lingering fear. The slightly aged voice in his mind repeated a few seconds, I'm not sure. Leonard's eyelids dropped immediately as he didn't pursue the matter. He then cast his gaze out the window, saw lights everywhere in Backland night sky. It was tranquil. 160 Boakland Street, inside Dwayne Dance's mansion. Sir, ma'am, Wahan Heisen is here. Richardson entered the room and said to Klein. Klein put down his papers and looked up, glancing as of a light. He discovered that he was still an apprehensive man, a few words, silent and reserved. There was nothing odd with him. If it wasn't because of divination, outcome was okay. Suddenly firing an employee will incur suspicions. Klein silently mumbled. He stood up as though nothing had happened, and he got Richardson to help him wear his coat. 15 minutes later, he was holding his etiquette teacher, Wahana Heisen, and then in an embrace as he began to learn another common dance used at social events. I feel as though I'll be losing my job in a few days. After a while, Wahana praised Dwayne Dantes for his progression. When she was done, she added, however, you're still a little restrained. Although you don't have to act like intis men who cling closely to the ladies, you don't have to constantly maintain a distance. It's very normal to make occasional contact. The way you're behaving now makes you rigid and dull. Client, ooh, okay. Maybe he has to loosen himself up and act more like a marionette. Klein pulled her in a little and replied with a smile, I was afraid of being rude. Does this mean that being too close to ladies is an act of rudeness? It also implies I'm full of charm and that he might embarrass himself if he's too close. This is quite an euphemistic form of praise. Wahana thought as said with a smile, you have learned well. The dance continued as Klein looked at Wahana's Heisen's face as he asked warmly in a casual manner, ma'am, you seem frustrated. Wahana lowered her head and chuckled. It's nothing serious. My husband is a businessman and he recently had some minor conflicts with some people. When we can resolve the matter. Oh, your question was too direct. Before both parties have established a friendship, it's best not to ask about their matters unless she made it obvious. Compared to you who comes and goes in families of high society, thus knowing many madams and ladies, as the tycoon had just arrived in Backland, I do lack the necessary social connections. Klein nodded gently and said with a smile, I thought we were no longer strangers. He then skipped the TOEIC and began talking about his own experiences as his neighbors Wahana would mention a few things in response, allowing Klein to better grasp the traits and preferences of his neighbor. After Wahana left, Klein stood at the door for some time before turning to say to his butler, Walter, find out what trouble ma'am Wahana's facing. If she can resolve it, we will provide her with some timely assistance. Ooh, we're going to help her? Next chapter? Next chapter, 758. Not enough in the chat right now. Efforts will ultimately pay off. In the evening, Klein, who had just returned from the same side of the cathedral, was just about to enter the dining hall on the second floor when he saw butler Walter walk over and say with a polite bow, Sir, the matter you wish to investigate has been completed. Klein did inquire further in front of the other servants as he stately nodded. They had talk and study. Walter followed behind him and came all the way to the third floor. Richardson then opened the door and lit the gas wall lamp inside. Klein unhurriedly walked to his desk, sat down, and looked at the butler further apart. As Walter gestured Richardson to guard outside the door, he approached the desk and deliberated over his words. After the door closed again, he said, Ma'am, Wahana's husband is a cloth merchant. He had been cooperating with someone and had invested 1,000 pounds into it, but other party ran off with the goods. She had already sought the help of the Member of Parliament, Machat, and Ma'am Rihanna to urge the police department to crack the case quickly as soon as possible. However, the police usually doesn't dare to guarantee that they can find a target for such cases. Klein picked up the black fountain pen on his desk and instructed, to Ma'am Wahana family, 1,000 pounds isn't a small sum. Based on what he knew, an ordinary home tutor didn't earn more than 150 pounds a year. If the employer provided boarding and lodging, the salary would have been even more lower. Looking at the moon, don't mind us, Junior Easy. We elders are simply discussing the Dao over here. That's okay. Thank you, Moon. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the heads up. Although Wahana served high society and had many employers, her annual income capped out at about 400 to 500 pounds. Furthermore, a large amount of her expenses would be spent on her dressing postures and looked to prevent her employers from finding her unfitting as an etiquette teacher. Yes, her husband's income as a cloth merchant can only be considered average. To him, 1,000 pound investment is a rather huge investment. Walter said by mincing his words, it's a lot for me. Klein sighed and smiled. I just came to Backland, so I'm not very familiar with the police. Walter immediately replied, Sir, back when I was under the service of Viscount Conrad, I knew a few members of the Backland High-Ranking Police Officers Association. Backland High-Ranking Police Officer Association, that would be the most important members of the civilist yard. Even the chief superintendents who are in charge of an entire borough might not be qualified for induction. Civilist yard referred to the Backland Police Department. It got its name from the street it was located at, as expected of a butler who served under a noble family. Klein sighed inwardly as he smiled with a shake of his head. There's no need for you for the time being. On this aspect, I'm sure Ma'am Wahana is able to seek the help of many people. Be it members of Parliament, Machado, or others, all of them have the ability to make civilized yard place the importance on the case. He paused and deliberately said in passing, I've seen the lower rungs of society, and I know their methods of survival. At times, the police might not be as useful as gang members or bounty hunters. Walter got the police department to retrieve the corresponding details and head over to the famous bars of Backland Bridge area in Eastport to commission a bounty mission. Regardless, if they find the corresponding criminals or batch of clothes, I'll give them 200 pounds in return. Your camera fell? Nah, it's right. It didn't. It's right. I know when it falls now, and it's right. We got a new stand. It's perfectly fine right here. This is the perfect good angle. Hell, let's hope that these cheats had chosen to remain in Backland. The reward of 200 pounds. Walter repeated the sum as he couldn't help but steal a glance at his employer, as though he found it unbelievable that he would offer so much of Wahana's matters. He turned agape and was just about to say something, but ultimately kept silent. All he did was seriously reply, "All right, sir. I'll give you this money directly." Klein slowly got up and took out his wallet. As Walter received the thick wad of cash, he asked in thought, "Should I tell Ma'am Wahana?" Klein smiled. "There's no need." Enlightened, Walter nodded with a bow. Your generosity will spread through the streets." Whoa, this is a long chapter. This chapter is 8 pages. I just caught that. Okay, this is a long one. Eastboro, the Rarver Street, and a cramped but lively pub. I read this wrong. Shio, who had seriously combed her short blonde hair before heading out, squeezed through the area filled with men that stank of alcohol and putrid sweat and arrived at the bar counter. She tapped the counter and asked the bartender, "Any new missions today?" If it were anyone else who asked without ordering any drinks, the bartender would have ignored them. But upon recognizing Shio, a bounty hunter who no one wanted drinking, he could only sigh and say, "A very handsome reward, 200 pounds." 200 pounds, Shio nearly suspected that she had heard wrong. Apart from the Miss Audrey's mission, she has never seen such a handsome reward in Eastboro or the Backland Bridge. Even the mission to seek out the Zig-Eggers that drove the bounty hunters crazy had only offered 150 pounds. For an ordinary bounty hunter, completing a commission like this was enough for them to not work for a year. To Shio, it was equally important because she had been helping the mysterious man of the Golden Mask over the past few months. She learned from that man that from MI9, she was trying to earn enough contributions in exchange for the interrogator potion formula. Therefore, the reward she received... This guy's been set up since Volume 2, the guy with the golden mask. Therefore, the reward she received was completing his task, only played a little. Most of it was exchanged towards her contribution goals, so all her savings came from the advantage that her sheriff sequence had given her to capture the criminals. Once I received the potion formula, I still have to spend money to buy the beyond ingredients, and I only have 300 odd pounds. Fours is right. Money is omnipotent, but it's sufficiently important. Upon having this thought, she looked at the bartender and asked cautiously, What's the mission? Who commissioned it?" "Find a few cheats. They cheated the victim of clothes costing 1,000 pounds. As the bartender handed the details, Shio had said, "The person who commissioned the mission looked like a butler. He called himself Walter, and he's in the service of Mr. Dwayne Thomas from Buckland Street. If you capture the cheats or find the cloth, you can head there to retrieve the bounty." Shio quickly flipped through the documents as something quickly formed in her mind. She instinctively knew the direction in which to continue the investigation. "I'll take this mission," she immediately said with a nod. LOL. Talk to Dow, ain't no way. What's up, Romero? Sorry, it was last minute. We still have about like 20-30 minutes before we have to head out. Shio directly flipped through the documents as something quickly formed in her mind. She instinctively knew the direction in which to continue the investigations. "I'll take this mission," she said immediately with a nod. The bartender shrugged and said, "You aren't the only one. All the bounty hunters have taken on the mission. Besides, they have other ideas." "Like what?" Shio asked out of curiosity. The bartender chuckled. "They say that since Mr. Dwayne Dawson is so generous, they're willing to recommend themselves if he lacks a bodyguard. However, they later gave up the idea since being a bodyguard isn't as free as being a bounty hunter. Even having drinks will have to wait until they're given off time. That's not a problem for me, but I can only be a bounty hunter." Shio nodded, jumped off the high stool in front of the bar counter, and didn't waste the time heading for the door. The next day, just as Klein finished breakfast and was preparing to head to his garden to have a stroll to aid in his digestion, butler Walter came in from the outside and silently followed behind him until there wasn't anyone around. "Sir, there are 2 matters that need your attention," he said politely. "2 matters." Klein was somewhat surprised. He thought that there would only be one. Walter nodded. "Yes, the first matter involves the 10% shares in Backland Bike Company. Someone has already offered 10,000 pounds. That has to be Audrey, where she staked her stuff and whatnot. "Sir, do you still wish to continue the bid? It has been raised to 10,000 pounds. Not bad at all." Klein deliberately acted stumped as he thought. "I'm new in Backland, and there are many things that need me to hold back on. Let's leave it at that." "All right, sir," Walter said. "The cheats who scammed Ma'am Wahana, husband of the clothes, have been captured. The bounty hunter has already arrived and requested..." Ooh, he's gonna run into Shio? Maybe Shio joins this volume and becomes a member. That quickly, Klein turned his head in shock as he looked at the butler. If he hadn't taken action himself, he was indeed capable of settling it that very day. After he had dowsing around seeking to find people, but the problem stemmed from the fact that most bounty hunters weren't seers. Yes, perhaps as a beyonder good at tracking and searching for people, Klein made a preliminary judgment. Walter answered in confirmation. "Yes, it's much faster than I imagined." According to the bounty hunter, she did a reverse search for the black market sales before finding the cheats. The black market peddlers gave in so easily. From the looks of it, there must have been taught a lesson with a fist. Klein nodded and said, "What's the bounty hunter's name?" "She's quite capable. She called herself Shio," Walter answered truthfully. "No way." No way. Klein almost stumbled. Thankfully, he had an impressive balance of a clown. After calming the upheaval, she's joining this volume. Shio and Leonard are definitely joining this volume. It's ain't no way they don't join. After calming the upheavals through his heart while acting calm, he deliberately said, keep the bounty hunter's contact method. Perhaps there might be a chance to gain her assistance in the future. A little on the nose. Alright, Sir Walter didn't find any problems with Dane Dawson's instruction. Any decent members of the high society kept some unofficial means to their chests. Klein didn't continue the topic of Shio as he tersely said, how much was reclaimed. The cash in the yet-to-be-sold cloth from the cheats came up to 850 pounds. Walter had apparently anticipated his employer's inquiry on the matter and had asked ahead of time. Very good. Oh, very good. Klein nodded and said, after paying the bounty hunter, help her send the cheats and the goods to the nearby police station. Northborough Police Station. What emote is that? Oh, it's the tea time emote. Yeah. Oh, that would have been... I thought my phone was ringing. We should have been spamming that email when someone said, would you like to come in for some tea? Wahana and her husband, Bachus, looked at the high-ranking inspector in front of them and asked in unison, surprise colored their voices. It's been found. They've been caught. The high-ranking police inspector smiled in response, yes. When he informed them how much cash and cloth was left, Wahana and Bachus heaved a collective sigh of relief. They could afford 150 pounds in losses. Furthermore, the remaining cloth still had space for greater appreciation and profit. In essence, they hadn't surfaced much of a loss. They repeatedly thanked the inspector until someone invited Bachus to identify the goods and criminals. Wahana sat there without losing her etiquette. She smiled at the high-ranking inspector and said, your efficiency had exceeded my expectations. I'm very curious as to how you found a bunch of cheats. Okay, those are some very spicy emotes going on. Okay, what happened? What'd I miss? Being aware that this beautiful and elegant lady knew a member of parliament of the House of Commons and that she would eventually learn the truth, the high-ranking inspector didn't hide it from her. In fact, it was completed by a bounty hunter. She investigated the black market of the stolen goods and quickly caught the suspects. You even offered a bounty. Wahana seemed to gain a full understanding of the whole story. The inspector shook his head and said, no, someone beat us to it. He offered 200 pounds. Wahana asked in surprise. That wasn't a small sum of money. It even exceeded the expected profits that her husband would earn from the sale. Seeing the inspector give an affirmative reply, Wahana couldn't help but ask, who was it that offered the bounty? Well, I'm reading wrong. Who was it that offered the bounty? Wait, what? Who was it that offered the bounty? The bounty hunter didn't say, but accompanying her was a gentleman dressed as a butler, and the inspector simply described Walter's looks. Wahana vaguely guessed at the butler's identity as she leaned back slightly, muttering softly to herself, 200 pounds. And in the afternoon, Wahana, who came to the member of parliament Mach's house to teach his daughter etiquette, first thanked Ma'am Rihanna for extending their hand. After the blackish green-haired Rihanna said a few words of humility, she asked Wahana, I heard that you're Mr. Dwayne Dante's etiquette teacher. I wonder what kind of person he is. Ooh, I bet you want to find out. Wahana delivered and said, he's a true gentleman. He's warm-hearted, generous, kind, educated, gentlemanly, and very knowledgeable. Rihanna nodded slightly upon hearing that before turning to look at her proud daughter and chuckled. Unfortunately, he's a Ooh, what? Ew. Unfortunately, he's a little too old, or he might have been a good match. Well, I plan on inviting him to our ball this weekend, okay? Next chapter, First Dance. Okay, let's keep reading. All right, chapter 759 is called First Dance. Saturday night, 8 p.m., Klein rode his high-end carriage and arrived at 39 Boakland Street, Member of Parliament, Mach House in 2.5 minutes. After stealing a glance at the lit fountain that was sloshing with water, he buttoned his tailcoat and walked down the carriage before strolling to his house's main entrance. Richardson held an exquisitely packaged bottle of Southfile red wine and followed closely behind his employer. After walking through the main door, Klein instantly saw the Member of Parliament, Machat, and his wife, Rihanna, walked over to welcome him. The former was wearing an olive-green army officer uniform with an orange-red sash around his waist and a few medalling hanging from his chest. In the Lowen Kingdom, serving and retired officers enjoyed wearing their military uniforms at balls. The latter was wearing a yellowish long dress with frilly sides and a rarely seen exquisite lace, making her look different from unmarried ladies. However, she also partially exposed her fair neck and shoulders. Klein took the bottle of Salvador red wine from Richardson's hands and handed it to a Member of Parliament Chad before saying with a bow, "Sorry, I'm late by a few minutes." This was actually a common situation in Lowen's balls. Guests would rather be late by a certain amount of time than early. This is because the master of the house might still be busy with the final preparations with the ball. It was the worst time for them to entertain guests, but of course, one had to ensure that they weren't late by more than 10 minutes. If Wahana hadn't specifically taught him, Klein would definitely come early as a form of respect. It's fine, the ball hasn't officially begun. Machat glanced at the Salvador red wine as he handed it to the valet before nodding with a smile. At Lowen's high society engagements, one had to bring a gift for the masters if it was their first time attending a ball. Alcoholic beverages were the most welcome, but one had to keep in mind that the first gift had to be something locally produced. After greeting him a shot, Klein looked towards Mom Rihanna and saw that she had slightly raised her right hand. Hence, he took one step forward and lifted her palm and bent his back to kiss it. You illuminate the entire ball. Before the ball began, complimenting the masters of the house was a necessary step in the Lowen's social events. And unlike Intis, Lowen's hands kissing was etiquette. I like how it's always like unlike Intis. Easy, if you were at a ball like that, what would you do? Shit, man. I'll be risen up. All them baddies. Come on, man. Shit. Oh, hold up. I am a taken man. I can't say that. Hold up. Sorry. That was Mr. E. I will be the one cool guy at the corner of the ball and be like, yo, what's up? And just give cool life lessons and cool stories, you know? Yeah, I'd be kicked out in 5 minutes. Sounds about right. Miss Easy? Yeah, she don't need to know that. Keep quiet, guys. Before the ball began, complimenting the masters of the house was a necessary step in the Lowen social events. And like Inta's Lowen hand kissing etiquette required the lady to gesture that it was possible before a gentleman can do the kiss. Otherwise, it would be a serious fox pass. Likewise, for your arrival, Mom Rihanna replied with a smile. Then the couple led Dwayne Dantes through the quarters and into the mall hall where a pleasant tune was echoing. After taking a few steps forward, Mari Much pointed at the lady in the sky blue dress. My daughter, Hazel. Klein looked at the girl and his pupils suddenly constricted. He knew this girl. To be precise, he had seen her image before. Back when he asked her roads, when he could attain a mystical item which could steal the beyond... Oh, he showed her. Which could steal the from back then, which could steal the beyond powers of others. The magic mirror had indicated the scene of an arrogant lady loitering in the sewers, and she was none other than Hazel Machado. Why was she in the sewers? She was a lady with wavy black green hair and bright brown eyes. She had a mystical item that corresponds to a Prometheus. With her family conditions, why would she be loitering in the sewers? Is it some fortuitous encounter of hers? Was she searching for someone or waiting for something in the sewers? She has already become a beyonder. How did she become one? How could it be that she has a grandpa parasiting in her body? Klein, who was donning... How did he come up to that conclusion? Klein, who was donning the skin of Dwayne Dantes, instantly thought of many questions, but he pressed his hand to his chest as he bowed with an unperturbed look. Good evening, Miss Hazel. During this process, he stole a glance at Hazel Mach's face and discovered that she wore a composed look. There was an arrogance in her eyes. All she did was smile politely and answer, "Good evening, Mr. Dantes." She didn't have any abnormal reaction, which means that she's unable to sense the aura of the gray fog. At the very least, there's no grandpa parasiting her. I can't be certain for now, and I'll have to continue observing. Klein stood up straight as he took a cup of pale golden champagne from a waiter's tray. He then began chanting, "Members of Parliament, Mari Mach. I never expected you to be a major." He could tell from the equipped of Mach's shoulders if he was a Colonel? Colonial? Oh my god, I can't read. Prometheus is a marauder. Oh, it was before Parasite. That's why Klein thought that. A Parasite. Prometheus is marauder. Okay, luckily, because we're going to be on a plane, I will do my best to update my notes. I got you guys. I'm going to do my best to make sure I have everything for Volume 3 noted. If he was a colonial, then Klein couldn't even suspect that the gentleman was also beyonder, but it was hard to tell from the major. It's nothing. There are too many opportunities to render material services in Balam. Mari answered. Of course, the weather there is especially unsuitable. I've always been suggesting to the army's higher-ups to design a uniform for the West Balam and get rid of the traditional dark colors. Otherwise, the officers will only feel as if they are beef waiting to be roasted. As for the enlisted soldiers, most of them wore red tops and white bottoms. Yes, the weather there is completely different from what it's like in the country. Even Desi Bay isn't that hot. Klein indicated that he had been to the southern continent and he had to either east or west Balam to corroborate his hunting experience that he had mentioned a few days ago. He's going to be looking like he's doing work, but he's actually just writing notes. That's what it's going to look like. He's like, oh, he's such a meticulous person when it comes to taking notes. Like, actually, I'm taking notes on Lord of the Mysteries, Volume 3. And they're like, what? What is that? After a few minutes of small talk, Mach apologized and walked to the staircase with his wife. At the second floor, he raised a cup of red wine while standing by the railing facing the main door and said, "Thank you for everyone for coming to our ball. First, let us toast to the deities. They are the sources of everything beautiful." He and Ma'am Rihanna tapped the 4 times on their chests as they softly praised the goddess. The other guests also praised the deity they believed in via their own means. Mach continued having his cup raised as he said a smile. Second, a toast to the kingdom. It's a stable bedrock. To the kingdom, Klein raised his cup of champagne and spoke with the other guests around him. Following that, Mach surveyed the area and asked humorously, finally, what shall we toast to? Klein's mind's whirled as he said loudly with a smile, a toast to the improvement of the air in Backland. Mach was taken aback as he couldn't help but smile in response. Excellent, that's a great suggestion. A toast to the improvement of Backland's airs. This is a symbol of us living better lives. Cheers. The fixing of the atmospheric pollution issue has always been one of his political ideas of a House of Commons, members of Parliament. He had ultimately been pushing the corresponding bills, and he had played a significant role in the improvement of the environment. Therefore, toasting to the improvement in Backland's air was equivalent to toasting to himself. It was more euphemistic and more above board. All the guests echoed in a spirited burst as they finished the drinks in their hands. Right on the heels of that, members of Parliament marched, held Ma'am Rihanna's hands, and they went down the hall. Then they started the opening dance and the mellow music. All the gentlemen present began finding their first partners to the dance. Klein took another cup of champagne as he leisurely sized up the guests. Huh? Ma'am Mary is here as well. He swept his gaze and found someone familiar. As one of the major shareholders of the coin company with a wealth amounting to tens of thousands, Ma'am Mary had formally hired Sherlock Moriarty to investigate her ex-husband's acts of adultery. She's a member of the National Atmospheric Pollution Council. This was mentioned in Volume 2. So it's normal that she has a close relationship with a member of Parliament. Klein did an attempt to invite her to a dance. He should invite her to a dance. Since he here as Dwayne Dantes, he didn't know this lady who lived in another street. He retracted his gaze and looked elsewhere. He saw Hazel Mach holding a cup of white wine standing to the side. She wore a clear smile of alienating as she had watched the gentlemen lock onto their targets to invite them for a dance. This lady actually looked pretty good. She's dignified and pretty. She should have been the star at this ball, with people yearning to invite her to the dance. However, the way she exudes the look of arrogance, looking down at people with a supercilious look, makes any gentleman who casts his eyes on her shift over to another target. I've seen this look in the eyes of certain beyonders as well. They no longer think of themselves as mortals, and they often have a sense of superiority when facing ordinary folks. This implies that Miss Hazel is likely a beyonder. That's right. If she isn't a beyonder, how would she dare to loiter in the sewers? She's from the Marauder pathway, but how is she to act as a marauder or swindler with such arrogance? It's hard to imagine. Seeing that the hosts were almost done with the opening dance, he began seriously considering who he can invite. Dwayne Dantes is in his early 40s, so it's appropriate to invite a lady for his first dance, unless it's someone confirmed to be a junior. And the first dance of the most ma'ams wouldn't be done by the husbands. I should be able to invite people I'm familiar with or the hosts. Klein swept the dance floor and found the only lady Dwayne Dantes was familiar with. It was his etiquette teacher, Wahana. Ooh, okay. He's gonna dance with the teacher? Let me show you the moves I've learned from you. Invite her? No, she's likely already knows that I've secretly helped her. To invite her for the first dance can easily make her misunderstand. It might even affect her relationship with her husband and incur unnecessary trouble for Dwayne Dantes. It's not like I'm Emperor Result who had a penchant for the wives of others. No, he's the penchant for everything. In short, I should avoid creating gossip. Klein shifted his gaze and heard the music change. It went from a mellow melody to something brisk. Okay, it was a piece of countryside music. They're listening to country. It was a piece of countryside music that was popular in the Central Lowland. It's well liked by nobles and was often used for the first dance. With a change in music, the gentlemen walked to the ladies and the madams they had selected. Klein also noticed that no one approached Hazel Mach. She's one of the hosts of this ball. Besides, I can observe her at a close distance. If she really is a beyonder of the Marauder pathway, it implies that the Grey Fog is able to converge beyonders from the neighboring pathways of the Seer pathway. Klein wore a gentle smile and unhurriedly walked to the arrogant lady. Miss Hazel, may I have the pleasure of a dance with you? Dwayne Dantes, with his white sideburns, gave a standard bow as he said. Hazel glanced at him, and after a few seconds of silence, she said, "It will be my honor." She then extended her palm. Klein politely held her hand and entered the dance floor as they began a brisk and lively dance. Glancing at her beautiful but deadpan face, Klein said with a smile as he tried probing, "I just noticed that many young gentlemen wish to invite you to dance, but they were unable to muster their courage." Hazel looked up and swept her gaze at him and said, "Mr. Dantes, that's not a polite topic." Klein choked, lost as how to reply. Oh, did he fuck up? He fucked up. Does Mr. E go for the wives of others? No, never. Klein choked, lost. So he fucked up. Mr. Dantes, that's not a polite topic. He's like, damn, I messed up, huh? All right, let's pop. Here, let's not do it on the stream. Let's do it as we're doing our overall thoughts. I feel bad we only read 4 chapters. She needs a cool veil. We're going to give her like a cool Evernight Goddess veil or something. If she'd be down to join and read on stream, the missus. But I'm going to make a promise to you guys. If I can find a nice, quiet, secluded spot while I'm away for 4 days from Friday to Monday, I will do my best to stream from my iPad. The audio is going to be scuffed. It's not going to be the good Razer mic. I'm going to stream from my camera, and then we can read more chapters. That is the goal. I will promise you guys that. I will promise you guys that. And if not, I will promise you that I will try and see if I can find a nice, quiet, secluded spot so I can stream where I can get Wi-Fi. Shit, from my iPad. Damn, that sounds kind of... without revealing where I'm visiting. We'll see if that works. And if not, when I come back, from Tuesday to Friday, we're streaming minimum 4 hours. Minimum, not the max. Minimum. So there could potentially be more. Potentially be more, okay? Tuesday to Friday. And then I will do my due diligence and bribe the missus. Like, hey, honey, can I stream like 8 to 12 hours Saturday and Sunday? And then we have like a nice, beautiful dinner date after? That is the plan, all right? So look, I'm going to be gone for 4 days, but we're going to make up for all this lost time. Because we had an unannounced stream yesterday and we had an unannounced stream this day. And I feel kind of sad that I don't give you guys a heads up right now. Just there's been so much stuff. And then the week before we were visiting Anime Expo, so we were kind of sidetracked on that for another 4 days. Wiz going to reach chapter 1000? No, he ain't. Because while I am gone, we're going to hit her with a YouTube Riz and see if we can bribe her. Look, because while I am gone and Wiz is streaming, you guys got to make sure to stall like your life depends on it, okay? Because he thinks the race is over. But it's not. I know, username. You saw me, man. Yesterday, guys, we fucking read 2 hours straight. We hit 11 chapters. We did five chapters an hour, okay? We're going to lock in. And Wiz is going to get nice and comfortable thinking I'm not going to pass him. And then all of a sudden, we're going to be ahead. Unhinged? Godspeed, brother. Godspeed, brother. I'm gonna need you to join every stream. Just don't get the mods mad enough where they time you out. You gotta time it. You gotta time the questions. There's more than 100 chapters ahead of you. Good luck, easy. That's where you guys are underestimating me. Do you guys remember the good old days in Volume 1 when we read 30 chapters in 1 day? And 20 chapters in 1 day? Just watch. We're going to make up for lost time in 1 to 2 weeks. And he ain't going to know what hit him until it's too late. That's how you do it. That's how we do it. So I'm going to do this outro, okay? I love you guys. I'm going to be gone for 4 days. Quick recap. I'm going to be gone for 4 days. Back in my days. Back in my days. You're watched easy? No, how could you? Unk emoji not here, sad. Wiz is live right now talking about you? Ain't no way. No, he said he'd be live in like 2 hours. He says another hour. So I'm going to try and stream for the next 4 days on my iPad. I will do my best. I'm going to try and use this iPad to stream for you guys, okay? So I'm going to have it like propped up in a corner, and then I'm going to reach out on my phone. And if I can find a nice quiet spot to stream for those 4 days, when I come back Tuesday to Friday, minimum of 4 hours every day. And hopefully, if I convince the missus, 8 to 12 hours Saturday, Sunday, if not minimum 4 hours. So it's going to be, we're going to have good lengthy streams again. So you guys better be buckled up and prepared because we're going to sweep Wiz. Okay, I don't want to say mean things because I love him. I genuinely respect the man, so I'm gonna keep it chill. I'm gonna keep it a $150. He's a good friend. I mean, the Japan phone stream was good. You know what? The Japan phone stream was pretty good. Yeah, that was a pretty good stream. All right, but I'm gonna let you guys go. Have a beautiful day. Now we get the iPad. You guys had the Japan phone stream. Now you guys are gonna get the iPad USA stream. Bound to Wi-Fi. This is war. We're back, baby. We're gonna fight back. We're gonna put him in the dirt. He thinks he's ahead. He ain't even gonna know what hit him, dude. Guess we'll see easy in 2026. No, dude, man. God forbid. You know what? I mean, I pray to the Lord of Storms, Steam of Machinery, and everybody else. God forbid, man. Like some crazy shit happens to me on the plane. Knock on wood. You guys won't even know. I mean, it'll probably make the news. Next plane crash. Oh, fuck, I'm gonna shut up now. But it'd be crazy, man. That's my legacy. The man that never finished LOTM because he stalled way too long. I'm gonna have to, bruh. I'm gonna have to finish the series above the Great Fog if that happens. I'm sorry. I gotta chill. I'm gonna shut the fuck up. We would know Elliot would come on stream to tell us. Yeah. Nah. We will definitely leave the channel in the missus hand. Bro, jinxing it? Nah. Do I get the channel if you die? Nah. I'll be honest. Little bro gets the channel or the missus gets the channel. They take on the mantle. They take on the torch. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go. You guys have a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace, and have a good day. I'll give you guys an update on Discord. Later, guys.